excuse me, I'm sorry. A lot of people even would classify me coming from the rock market into country. I've heard that so many times. But I was a country artist. I was signed as a country artist. And it surprised me because up until then I'd had only country hits. And they would allocate just what they thought I was going to sell. Now, what that number was, I don't know. But anyway, that's when pressings were very, very important. And our Capitol's pressing company in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where the majority of those things were pressed. And it just came out, and all of a sudden it began to be played everywhere. And no one knew reason. I don't know. I have no idea. But once it started hitting, then it was hard for them to press.
Did you run out of records?
Well, they did. Oh, a lot of times. They did just several markets. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a teenage idol at that time. His name was Tab Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And so Randy Wood...
He covered you, didn't he?
Well, the reason, though, was a disc jockey in Howard Miller in Chicago. And Billy Vaughn was recording for Dot. And Howard called and he said, Randy, we can't get this record in Chicago enough, and the one-stops won't. They want it. And he said, won't you? I met Tab during an interview here, movie, and why don't you call him? And Randy said, he don't sing. He said he don't have to. Just put his name on there, and Billy will take care of it. So this is what happened. Billy went down to Wallach's Music Store in Los Angeles, brought the record back, and he taught Tab. He thought it was a joke when they first called him. And so he taught him, Billy said, and he'd say, you know, which was a style for me to say, and I know, ho, I. Well, I didn't pronounce it that detail, but he taught Tab right there, and he said, and when you get to here, they say for every boy and girl there's just one love in this whole world, and I know, ho. He wrote those words, and I know, ho, I.
And taught Tab Hunter to sing like Sonny James.
Well, he later, though, he never regarded himself as a singer. He's tongue-in-cheek.
I have to break off here.
Okay.
And we need to take a break. We'll be right back.
Gotcha.
Sonny, I read where when you were quite young, you met Kate Smith.
Yeah.
Kate Smith, who popularized the Irving Berlin song, God Bless America. Big television and recording star, radio star. Where did you meet her?
In Birmingham, Alabama.
What were the circumstances?
Our family had gone out to appear, and it seems to me like they were having a band contest or something. And anyway, we won it. And Kate Smith, she took me on her knee, and I was real small then, and I was probably about that 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, she said to folks that I might have a bright future. Oh, well, she's a little more than that, but nevertheless, she encouraged me. Yeah, she gave me $1, and I had it where during our changeover from place to place, I lost it.
Sonny, let's go to the moon. I want you to explain to me how you happened to ride the rocket on Apollo 14.
A dear friend, and he became a dear friend of mine, Bill Bailey, in Houston, Texas.
The disc jockey.
That's right. And he was close to the astronauts, and he found that these folks were fans of mine. So he said, Sonny, would you do this for me? And so I took the guys in the studio, and I talked to Rusa and Shepard and the other one, just like I was on the flight with them. And
what did you say to them?
I don't know. I've forgotten now. I just ad-libbed it. But the guys and me, we would sing. And anyway, they took it. And then I later appeared in Houston. And it was the first one done just for the astronaut, not just playing a record, you know, or something.
You did a performance for the astronauts.
Yeah, and I forgot how long it was. But the guys and me, after I did this, they came back. They sent me, or they stopped the show once I was appearing in Houston. They stopped it, gave me this, and also the picture of the official astronaut Shepard in the bunch. That came out.
It was the official NASA picture.
Yeah.
What interests me is this flag that is right here. I understand this flag actually flew on the moon.
Yeah.
And they gave it to you.
They presented it to me like that, and
there's a letter here from the astronaut. I don't know what their ranks were.
He was lieutenant colonel, and I think Shepard was probably that too. He might have been a full colonel.
Anyway, Colonel Russo then.
Yeah.
He wrote that he was 240,000 miles away from home and listening to you.
He particularly pointed out the end of the program. I sang "How Great Thou Art," and he said particularly, he told me later, that we really enjoyed that. He said we had to punch it and play that again because looking back on Earth from space, he said it was really, he said it'll make you think.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Makes you.
They really enjoyed it.
I would imagine it would increase your faith considerably.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes. It's hard to imagine when I go out at night when Doris and I will go at the back out on the patio and we look up and see this beautiful Tennessee moon and go inside and realize you've had something that was on that moon.
I want to give credit to those who flew. The commander was Alan Shepard.
Yep.
And the other astronauts were Stuart Roosa and Edgar Mitchell.
Right.
And this was January 31, 1971, when they took the trip to the moon, Apollo 14.
Yeah.
And this, I assume this is one of your prized possessions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was going to, and probably still will, give it to the Hall of Fame when they want an exhibit or something.
Where does it hang now?
It hangs in our den.
Well, I can appreciate its value. There are very few things that have ever been where that flag has been.
That's right.
How long did it fly on the moon? I assume just while they were there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just while it was. Yeah.
Sonny, in recapping the many things you've done in addition to playing your music, one of the people that I encountered several years ago who was quite thrilled with what you did for her was Marie Osmond. And when she was 12 years old, was it her mother that called you?
No, Mike Curb called me, and well, he called Donna Ovens, and they too had gotten in touch with me because Mike was then with MGM, and he's recording the Osmonds, and he said they have a little sister, and said she wants to sing, and I said, well, and he said, well, I want to send her to Nashville. And I want you to pick songs. I want you to record her. And he said, just she and Olive, her mother, will come with her. So they sent me a demo of Marie singing Dolly's Coat of Many Colors. And I listened, and I thought that we could work out something together, but at that time she wasn't singing as high as I had her do because she had this nasal sound cut. I mean, I say that complimentary, because she cut. So she came in, and we got all the musicians, and I'd rehearsed her on the songs, and even I'd sit on the stool, and Marie would sit here, and this is why she's phrasing like I phrase, you know. And I told her after our first session, we came back and she heard herself, and we were in the control room, and I said, I know you're known as the Osmond sister, but they're going to be known as Marie's brothers after this. And she laughed, and we became very close.
That was a big record.
Oh, Paper Roses was a big.
Did you pick Paper Roses?
Yeah. And we did 3 albums with her, and she today is just she's doing well, and she's a dear friend of ours.
Sonny, I seem to recall that later, as an adult, she came back to you to produce her again.
Well, I did this again for a best of, and we did.
And you re-recorded Paper
That's
Roses.
right. And this is what was funny. She came and she says, "Son," this is after their television show, and she says, "Sonny, I'm not sounding like I was." And she says, and she's the one that mentioned, she said, "What was it you used to tell me to do with my nose?" And I said, "Well, you do this, Marie, kind of like this, and instead of saying paper roses, you'd say paper, you little,
But what
put an edge to it." She said, "I got it." So we cut it.
But I don't
she reverted
understand
right back.
what's happening with your nose if you're scrunching it.
Oh, no. She wasn't scratching it. She had a way with her nose. And
okay.
And I'd always point when she would start singing like Olivia Newton-John. I'd say, don't do that. And because Olivia Newton-John was a different type singer. But just like in country music, Ernest Tubb, the Hank Snow.
So you didn't want her singing like Olivia Newton-John?
No, sir. I wanted people to know who she was, and she was.
Well, it was the beginning of a very successful career for her. What we're going to do, Sonny, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to let these folks, I'm going to turn them loose on you. And let the folks at home call.
Now, what do you mean turn who?
The audience.
Oh, okay.
They can call in after this break at 1-866-547-9696. Call in and say hi to Sonny James. We'll be right back. Lillian in Texas. Hi, Lillian.
Hello. You should recognize me by now. This is the third time I've got through to you, Ralph.
Wow. Well,
I'm looking forward to see you in a couple of weeks at Carthage.
Oh, you that lady?
Yes, you know who I am. Remember the Purple Hull P.O. Jelly in Nashville several years ago? That's me.
Do you have a question for Sonny James?
Yes, I'm so glad to see him. We've been wondering where you've been for the last few years. It's been about, I'm going to date me and you both. It's been about 50 years we saw you in a state fair in Beaumont, Texas. And it's so good to see you still around, and I've always enjoyed your singing.
Oh, I appreciate that, Lillian. That's
and you're
sweet.
looking good, and it's glad to see you up and going.
Thank you.
And I hope we hear more from you.
You will.
Well, Lillian, thank you so much for calling again.